Oh my, that's not how you're supposed to do it.
These boats behind me are all boats that are owned by people who operate their own boats. These aren't rentals. These people have owned their boats for years. Let's see how they've got their boats tied off on those cleats. All right, so here's the first one. Let's take a look. Nope, that's not right. Here's another one. How is that even hanging on? That's totally not right. Here's one where they cheated. I like that. That's something I do a lot. Oh, here we have something here. He's got a turnbuckle on there and a whole lot of mess. Here's another one with a whole lot of mess and a turnbuckle. But it works. It's holding this boat. And yeah. What's that?
Oh my. That's not how you're supposed to do it.
Now this, wow, that looks really nice. I like that one. But technically it's not proper. Nope.
So far we haven't seen a single one that's tied off right. Let's try the next pier. Well, that's one way to do it. Wow, look at that mess. That's awful. Oh, yeah, that's not any better. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, that one's not good either. Yeah, that's not how you do it. So like every other YouTuber, I am going to show you how to tie off on a cleat properly. However, the difference between me and the rest of them is I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter. Technically, you're supposed to start from the farthest point, which is this one, from your boat. And the reason is because if you start here and the boat shifts, it can come off. That's the reason. Also, the idea is that by starting at the farthest point, you get more leverage when you're going like this versus starting like this. Does that make any sense? Anyway, once we've started like that, this is where it gets controversial now. There are some people that say you do a complete loop first. Other people say a half loop. You go to this point, then we cross over. So we're crossing over sort of the same direction as this line here. Wrap it around that. And then this is where it gets interesting because you have to twirl it like so. That's what we're supposed to always see. This is it. This is what everybody says is the proper way to tie off. So it makes it secure. See, this can move, but it's caught by that. If it goes this way, it's caught by this. If it goes up, goes down. If this flops around or gets banged, it's trapped by this. People call this the bridge over two rivers. These are supposed to be in line with each other. Obviously, if your boat swings like that, it's okay like this. You see just generally that it's in line. And then obviously to untie it, you just grab that and then it's untied. But the reality is, if your friend is helping you and they take your line and they go like this and they wrap it around 3 times and pull it, you're still pretty good for a while. Now, in a bad storm, heavy seas, a lot of movement on the dock, you can see this starts to give. All of this is moving just a little bit and giving. But it would last all night. The wind may blow and knock this into here. Wind blows again and it knocks that like that. So yes, that is not the best way to do it. But also, that's not terrible either. It's again, you can see that it does pull, but at some point it stops pulling. And yes, this is like this. So yes, the wind can blow it this way, and then the wind could blow it that way. But we're still tied off this much. It would take a lot of movement and a lot of hours for that. So obviously, if you're leaving your boat for a very long time, let's say you do something sloppy like this, then just, do some extra. Go crazy. Do whatever it takes. That would probably hold for months. Maybe not. And if somebody had to untie you in a pinch, yeah, they've got to figure out how you've got this all wrapped. But that didn't take long at all to figure out. So once again, here we'll do it this angle this time. Far angle, you wrap around, you go back to the original angle, crisscross, and then this is where, and I always get this a little bit wrong, you do this like so. Yes, that looks very tidy, and it works. It's very effective. It's why people say to go that route, but you don't have to. And as you saw in my marina, lots of people don't do it like this. So this is one of your boat ropes, or as they call it, line. And you can get dock line, which I like dock line because it has one end that's already been made into a loop. And then this other end here, I think this is called the bitter end, I'm not sure, but it's not a loop. I think this is what we call in the US 3/8 dock line. I'll put a link in it if you want to buy this sort of stuff. You can also get it from other places like Amazon or any marine shop. I like the ones with the loop end because I like to use the loop end on one side of my cleats. Let me show you how you tie off with a dock line that's got the loop end. If your dock line isn't too thick and your cleat is big enough and it has this pass through, you run the loop through there and then around like this, and then pull it snug. I usually keep the loop end toward my boat. This helps lock it in place. Obviously, if things get really loose and sloppy, this can move around a little bit like that. Maybe. But I've never had this fail on me. And once again, I'm not leaving my boat out in hurricanes or terrible, terrible situations. Let me know if your mileage varies from this, but I like this. And sometimes what I'll do is I might have my line tied off really nicely on my boat with the bitter end, and then I have the loop end set to the right length to go off to the dock. And sometimes that makes it a little bit faster. But it does take a second to feed this through. So for those seafaring types who like to be super fast and efficient, they don't like this. They would never do this kind of thing. This is what a lazy person does. But personally, I think tying off with a loop end is awesome, and I try to do it as often as I can. So there you go. That's tying off on a cleat. I don't know if that's a cleat hitch or not. Don't stress over it too much. If you're just leaving your boat in a very protected marina in fair weather for a couple of hours while you go into a restaurant or while you're visiting a friend, just tie off however you feel like it. A lot of other people do. And us worrying and caring about such a small thing as to whether or not our knots are tied off beautifully when we're all power boaters and literally the only knot we need to know is this one and maybe how to tie off our fenders. There's bigger fish to fry than whether you've got your lines perfect. Anyway, I weigh the boat guy, and those are some loud crows. I'll see you in the next video. All right, here we are coming up to another one. And